Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make this card, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. When you purchase Stampin' Up! Products through me, you can earn free products. Check out my current customer appreciation products on my blog, and the link is listed below in the description box. Today, I'd like to share with you my second Artisan Design Team Showcase card for May 2021. So this beautiful card uses the Flowers of Friendship bundle, which includes the stamp set, Flowers of Friendship, and the Flowers and Leaf punch. And today I'm going to show you a fun technique using this punch. So if you watched my first video showing my first project, then you have seen how I created my own stamps to create a fill-in shape for these images. And today I'm going to share with you that technique again. It's just slightly different for these petals, and so that's why I want to touch on it again. If you haven't seen that and are interested, you can click up here in the top right corner, and I will link my Artisan Design Team Showcase playlist, and you can see all of the cards that I've made as I have been part of the Artisan Design Team for 2021. So let's go ahead and start making this card. So what you're going to do is take one of the flowers, and I'm working with the small one here, and you're going to use Stays On ink, and this is a permanent ink that will stay on the rubber. We're going to just ink up one of the petals, so just use the corner of the ink pad and just ink up one petal, and then you're just going to stamp that petal onto the rubber. So you can see here I've just got that single petal. Now you're going to do the exact same thing with the large flower that I'm doing here with the small one. So then you're just going to take your scissors, and I'm just using an old pair of paper snips, and you just kind of do a rough cut around the image. It doesn't need to be perfect. You're just kind of removing this from the rubber. You do want to come into that circle a little bit, and you'll see on my card that I did hide the middle with rhinestones. And so that's one technique you can use because the center of these flowers are going to be kind of messy looking. So then once you have that image roughly cut out, you're going to look at the side, and you've got three layers. You have the sticky paper layer, then your foam, and then your rubber. So now for this next step, you're just going to remove that top rubber layer. And the reason we do this is because we can be a little bit more precise with the shape. So you're going to need to cut this in short, straight lines and with just slight curves here and there. So you'll end up with something that looks like that. Your next step is to take the label paper that comes in the stamp set, and you're going to remove that top layer of paper, and you're going to expose the sticky side here. And we're going to stamp on that layer the exact same image we stamped on our rubber. And we're going to do that in Stays On ink again. So just ink that up and then stamp that right onto that sticky paper. So it's this image here, and it's all on the sticky. And then you're going to take your old pair of paper snips again and just roughly cut out that same image. And what we're doing here is creating a label so that we can identify what the image is, even if the image is removed from the rubber. Over time, there's a chance that this image on the rubber will get rubbed off. So then to apply this, you're going to remove the paper backing, and this is the really sticky side, and that side needs to go on the foam. And so the side that had the paper backing goes onto the clear block, and then you remove the paper from the rubber, and then just apply that label right to that foam. And then you've got your very own custom stamp for the inside of these Flowers of Friendship. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to do the stamping and punching of our flowers. So when I do this, I don't want to waste paper. And so I've come up with a little technique on how you can use up all the punches that you make with this punched image, because it can be a little tricky. So what I'm going to do first is I'm taking a dark piece of cardstock and I'm going to punch out all the punches. And this now is my template. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to use a window sheet with a little bit of tape on one side, and I'm just adding that to my Stamparatus. And then I'm going to take one of the images, and I've got the large flower here, and I'm just going to take that and add it to the window sheet, and it can go anywhere. Then I'm going to close the Stamparatus plate onto that to pick it up. The next step is to ink it up with your ink color, and I'm using Evening Evergreen. And then I'm going to stamp it onto the window sheet. Then I'm going to take that black cardstock that we've already punched out. I've added some washi tape to the sides, and I'm going to add that underneath the stamped image. And I'm just going to line it up until I find how it matches that opening. So do you see there how it matches? The image matches the stamp. Then I'm going to use a little washi tape to hold that in place. I'm going to lift up the window sheet so that now I have this is exposed. Then I'm going to take some basic white cardstock, and I'm going to punch some shapes out. And I need 3 of each one. So take the large one and you're going to match it up with your template here. So now you see that I've placed that inside my black punched, and I'm going to ink up my stamp, and then I'm going to stamp that, and it's going to stamp perfectly in place. Just like that. And then I can repeat that as many times as I need to. So when you're done with that one image, you're just going to clean off the image from the window sheet and your stamp, then remove the stamp, and you just repeat the process with the next image, which will be the small flower. So again, I'm going to place that in the center of my window sheet, pick it up with the plate, remove the guide. I'm going to ink up again with Evening Evergreen, stamp that on the window sheet, and then line up the guide underneath. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to stamp the inside colors of the flowers and leaves. So I have already done a single petal of the large flower, and we're going to start by stamping one large in this new color called Pale Papaya. So all you do for this is you just stamp each petal separately. So they're not going to be a perfect fit. You're going to have a little bit of white space that still shows after you stamp. So there's one, and then we're going to do another one in the small flower in the same color. So one each of the Pale Papaya. So you're going to get something that looks like that. And then we do the same thing with the fresh freesia. This time we're going to do 1 large and 2 small. Just like that. Now I've also created a large and small single leaf to match these ones that we have already stamped and punched out. And so I am stamping these in the soft succulent color, and I'm going to do all 3 of each size. Okay, so that step is all done. The next step is to create this fun splatter background for our beautiful flowers to sit on. And so this is exactly the same as my first card. We've got Balmy Blue Cardstock and ink, and I'm going to begin by stamping one of these single flowers from this strip of flowers. And so all I'm doing is just inking up that one flower on the end, and I'm going to stamp from the top left corner down to the bottom right corner. So something like that. And then I'm going to open this up and make sure I have some ink here in the lid. And then with a water painter, I'm going to add some water. And then I'm going to flick on some splatters. And I've just got this piercing tool, and I'm just going to use it to kind of create some large and small splatters here. And I'm just going to stay, again, going from the top left into the bottom right area. Okay. Now, if you have some large ones and you want them to dry faster, you can just use a paper towel, create a little corner here, and then stick it in the middle, and it will soak up the excess water so that it dries a little quicker. Okay, so I'm going to place this off to the side while we finish creating our card. Next step is to create this label for our greeting, "Thank you for everything," which is also part of the Flowers of Friendship stamp set. You can see it up here in the top right or top left corner. So we're going to start by stamping the greeting in Evening Evergreen, and I just have some basic white cardstock here. And then you're going to take one of the tailor-made tag dies, and you can see here all the fun tags that it can create, and we're going to punch and we're going to cut out this greeting. Now you want to pull the tag over to the left, so the greeting, or over to the right, so the greeting is on the left, so that we can have some extra space to do another cut here on the right side. So just line it up so it looks good, and then you're just going to apply some washi tape to hold it in place, and then run this through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So now we have this fun tag, but what we want for the card is to cut out that hole and fun decorative edge on the other side. So to do that, you're going to flip over the die and add it to the card stock where you want everything to be. So we're looking for a similar distance from the edge here on the left so that it's the same on the right. Then you just want to flip it over, make sure that it's lined up inside the die so that you're not cutting crooked, and then take some washi tape and add that to the die and cardstock to hold everything in place. Then you're going to take your Stampin' Cut and Emboss plates, and you're going to add it to the base plate, and then your top plate only covers the area you want cut, which is this side right here. So you just place this right over that, like so, and then run this through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. All right, so then you're going to have a fun tag for your greeting that looks like something like this. So the next step is to take the background paper that we did the splatter on, and we're going to cut this fun border. And that border is created with this die. It's got a scallop and then a stitch on it, and it's from the new basic border dies. And you can see here that there's some other fun shapes that you can also cut. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is 4 inches from the top corner down to the first cut. And so I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball that. So from this point to the top here is 5 inches. And so I need 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to line that up right there with my card. I'm going to line up the cardstock with this grid paper so it's nice and even. And then I'm going to take my die and I'm going to line this up so that this is centered and my line, my cut line here, is lined up with this strong, darker cut. It's going to show me that it's 3 inches. And I'm looking here at the scallops. So I've got 1, 2, 3 scallops. And over here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I need to just shift it over just a little bit so that it's even on both sides. And I'm just going to go ahead and add some more washi tape here. Use this one up here and run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So you'll end up with something like this. I don't know if you can see it, but I tore the cardstock just a little bit right there, which is fine. We can just cover that up with a jewel or with a leaf or flower, so that will be okay. So next we're going to apply our greeting to our card. So before I can do that, I need to cut this little banner piece from this Evening Evergreen cardstock. And I'm going to use the Pick-a-Punch banner, and it's 1 inch. So I'm just going to slide that in here and then punch that out. And then my final dimension that I want is about 2 inches. So I'm going to take that cardstock and line it up with the 2-inch mark and cut. And the reason we're doing it in those steps is because this is really small and hard to get into the punch. And so it's easier just to trim it down after it's been punched. So that goes down in the center, a little lower than middle on my card. And then we add our greeting, and I want to do that with some dimensionals. And that just goes right in the center. And then we're going to take some of the twine, and we're just going to measure from each side plus a little extra and cut it. So this is about 4.5 to 5 inches. And then you're going to fold it in half and take that loop and string it through from the bottom to the top of that hole, and then put the ends through, and then you're going to do the same on the other side. And then on the back, we're going to attach those strings with some adhesive. And you'll just, on the front, you just want to open them up slightly and then adhere them to that adhesive you've just added. Just like that. And then we can add this to the piece of vellum. So again, we're using vellum on this card to create a little bit of depth between the two colors. And so we're just going to place some adhesive and maybe some liquid glue. And then that just goes with a nice border from around the top and sides. And then you want a nice large space at the bottom. And then we can now add this to our card base. And again, I've got a card base of Balmy Blue. And just folding along the score line and adding this just like we did. A little bit of adhesive in the center, and then some strong adhesive to hold it down while the liquid adhesive dries. And we need to just make sure that the adhesive is behind those other elements so that we can't see it when it's on the card. And the vellum piece is the same size as the front of the cardstock, of the card base. So we're going to have a nice full piece of vellum there. So you'll end up with something that looks like this. And now we can add our fun flowers that we have stamped and punched. So I've added dimensionals to the back of each flower, and I'm going to just place them going from the top left to the bottom right. And then I've already added a dot of liquid glue to the back of each leaf. And so I'm just going to go ahead and tuck these underneath the flowers. So you'll end up with something that looks like that. And then a last couple elements just to finish the card. I'm taking 10 inches of twine and I'm going to tie a bow here on the right side. So I've just looped one end underneath and then tie a knot and then a nice bow right here. And then I'm going to take some of these 2021-2022 in color jewels and I'm going to add them to the center of the flowers. And so for the large ones, I'm going to use the large jewel and I'm just matching the colors with the ink color I used on that particular flower. So the purple ones go on the purple and then the pale papaya ones go on the pale papaya. And that card is all done. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this beautiful card today. For written instructions and close-up images, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.